welcome to Managers, a podcast where managers discuss their success journeys. We will also meet with people navigating their way to the top of their field. These stories are meant to inspire. I am your host, Don Bartholomew. Hello, we have Miss Marie Jucknik with us here today. Hi, Marie. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. You want to tell the audience about you and what you do and everything?
Sure. I'm a transportation manager. I run 2 fleets of trucks for NFI, and we run dispatch, and I run actual 2 shuttle operations. So I have about 50 drivers and spotters for inside the yard.
Okay. So, and that's in which area this is?
So actually, both my fleets are they're actually separated. One is in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, and the other is in southern New Jersey.
All right. And how long now you there, Marie, at NFI?
I've been with NFI for 10 years, coming up in October.
Okay, that's good. That's really nice. But how did you get into the transportation industry?
So I actually started out as an administrator, more of a secretary actually, in a logistics company, and as I decided to move back to Pennsylvania. I was living in Maryland at the time, and a job came open that was, would help me survive and pay the bills. So I took that job to come back home, and it was actually an intermodal company. So I did work on the rail for almost a year, and then actually a friend of my sister had an opening in his brokerage office, and he needed it filled right away. It was only 5 minutes from the house. I had young children, so I accepted that job, and I worked for him for 10 years, and that was all owner operator flatbed freight in transportation. So I was an agent, and then I needed a job where they took the taxes out, since I couldn't really afford to live on commission anymore. So I went over to NFI, who's a reputable company. The pay was fair, and that's how I pretty much ended up in transportation.
Okay. What about from let's go back to before the 10 years in NFI. Before the 10 years at your sister friend's brokerage, before the intermodal, way before that, like what, it is something you actually wanted to do, or is just the direction life took?
Well, honestly, it would go actually even farther back than that. I was in the Air Force for 6 years, about a year after high school, and I went into the Air Force, and a company called, I was stationed at Fort Meade in Maryland, and a company called Bendix Field Engineering Corporation was hiring for doing the job basically that I did in the military. So I went with them, but through circumstance, I went to Alaska, to the Aleutian Islands for 2 years, and then that contract was gone, so I got sent to Germany for 4 years. And when I moved locations, it was different jobs that were open, so I kind of just fell into it. When I finally came back to the States, I ended up in Maryland at their corporate headquarters, and the the position that they had available was an administrative secretary for the logistics department. And so that's where I ended up. We ran the shipping office, and I mean, basically, I did secretarial work for a while before I ended up back home.
Okay, nice. So you've been an agent, transportation manager, different logistics managers. And let's go from the point here a little bit. With your experience as a agent, it have a lot of new brokers out there and a lot of new agents. What advice you will give to a new agent who want to start?
And I'm sorry, I didn't quite question.
What advice will you give to a new agent who want to start being an agent for a brokerage company?
So an agent, you have to be honest. You know, when you're an agent and you're dealing with drivers, you know, the biggest thing is if you don't tell them the truth right from the very beginning, your credibility is gone and they'll never trust you again. So if there's a load, then you tell them there's a load. If there's no load available, you have to tell them that too. Give them all the information that you have available to you, and you can be successful. I was successful as an agent. I never lied to a truck driver. Never misled them to believe that they would make more money than they thought they would make. So I would say honesty is the best policy.
Okay. No need to lie to them to have them thinking things is all great, and when it do fail, then they never trust you again. That's it.
That's exactly right.
All right. And what about someone wanna be a transportation manager or logistics manager? How could you direct them to follow that path?
If you don't like people, it is not the job for you. It's a people business. You really have to understand that you have to understand people. So if you are, and all different types of personalities as well. So if you like people, it's a great business to be in. Transportation. If you don't like people, or a lot of interaction with people, it is not the business for you. But again, I love it. I like the interaction with people, and that's the biggest part of the business. I mean, of course, there's always financial things you have to be concerned about, and you know, there's always safety. It's always important in transportation, but really it comes down to the people that you have to talk with every day.
Yes. And NFI. So you do transportation. So, and if somebody want to work for NFI, like a driver, or that's what do you say to them? Is that NFI is a good that's a good company for a driver, right? That's what I heard that NFI is really good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, NFI has locations across the country, but not just for drivers, although that's a huge part of the business. There's also warehousing, distribution, almost anything you can think of in supply chain. There's a job available. There are forklift drivers, there are truck drivers, there are spotters, there are administrators, human resources. There's so much opportunity. Just recently, one of my spotters, who is a person who moves the trailers inside of a yard, she's been with me about 3 years, and she came to me about a year ago and said, "Hey, I really like to get out of the truck. I don't want to be a truck driver anymore. I want to go into the office." And so, on her, spare time and days off, we trained her in the office, and she last week put in for a position as a logistics coordinator, and she's now working as a logistics coordinator. So there's just so much opportunity for growth and change.
Yes. Okay. And like with your position and how far you came, what is your best skill set or superpowers that you think have you keep going, help you along the way?
I like to talk. I think is probably part of it, and listen, because everybody has a story. So and everybody has a unique set of skills. Some like this spotter. She was a great spotter. She drove well. She had no accidents, but she wanted to do something different. And I think if you pigeonhole people into, that's a truck driver and that's all they're going to be as a truck driver, or that's a spotter, or that's even a logistics coordinator. If you pigeonhole people, I think, so for me, I'm able to draw people out and find out what they really want to do, because people are happy at work if they like what they're doing. And so I would say that would be my superpower. I'm able to discern what people enjoy doing.
Okay, Marie. So, what are you most what are you most proudest of?
I guess I don't have I would say I don't have a degree. So with a high school education, I mean, a little bit of college, a few college courses here and there. Without a degree, I think being able to move up through the company and be successful, I think is what I'm most proudest of at work. I had to teach myself the financials. I asked a lot of questions. So I think that would be the proudest. I mean, for someone who has a degree, it would be easier because they have that background, but not having a degree, a bachelor's degree or associate's degree or anything like that, I think that I'm being able to be as successful as I am without that is probably what I'm most proudest of right now.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And what is one thing you wish you had known, like, before? Is there anything you wish you'd known before all of this where you might have do different?
I wish I had actually, it's the same thing. I wish I had continued my education after I got out of the military. I wish I had pursued a bachelor's degree, and I think so. It's hand in hand. Although I'm proud of myself for being successful, and I think it just took me a lot longer. Had I finished my education when I was younger, maybe I'd even be a vice president by now. Who knows? But so I would say, that goes hand in hand with. I'm most proud that I'm as successful as I am without one. But I wish I had. I wish I had one.
Right, and so with that, when we say that now, what you think now, like, is your biggest failure, and what you learn from it?
I think my biggest failure is when you. I mean, it's probably just one of a thousand stories when you have someone that works for you, and you have to let them go. It always seems like a failure. I always say I don't fire people; they fire themselves. But if somebody's in an accident, or could I have somehow, is there something I didn't say that could have prevented them from being doing an unsafe act and having them lose their job? I think that's always something that hangs over your head as a manager. I remember clearly I had a driver who he had his house burned down. He was just going through the most difficult time. He continued to work, and he ended up sick out on the road, and he didn't stop. He was trying to get to a rest area, but basically what had happened is before he decided, because of, he was in financial straits, he was fell ill on the road and kept driving, and before he could get to a rest area where he could get some sleep, he was pulled over for reckless driving, and that's a terminable offense. Reckless driving is just a major thing. It's just not something that the company, there's so much liability involved. You don't want somebody out there on the roadway who's reckless. It really wasn't his fault. I tried to help him the best I could. I went to the safety department, but it's just unfortunate that I ended up having to terminate his employment when he was already going through such a tough time. So those kinds of things I think about. Could I, had I known that he was as sick as he was, could I have not sent him out on a load? Those kinds of things. I mean, some of it wasn't in my control, but at the same time, the what ifs, I think that's probably what I think about as failure most of the time. What if I had said something different, not let him go out even though he wanted to go out, those kinds of things.
All right. So what do you think you learned from this whole thing?
So one thing I did learn, and I make sure that, the office dispatch personnel and the other operations manager is ask the questions. If somebody comes to the desk and they don't look right or they're not acting right, pay attention to those signs so that, we don't send somebody out on the road. I'll get, when they're ill, say, because you don't want to put them in jeopardy or anyone else. So, ask the questions. Are you tired? Are you sick? Go home, get some rest. We'll give you an extra day, to help you out. But your life is more important than what you're doing today. So I said that would be the biggest thing, is make sure that you're paying attention to the people that are coming into the office.
All right. And besides work now, in life now, what do you think was the biggest lesson you learned in life?
I think as I get older, I learn a lot more lessons, and I think back about how you could do things differently. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there's a million life lessons that you learn along the way.
What was the most important to you?
I think most important to me is my family. Making sure that I'm always there for them if they need me. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to remember, how many loads I moved. But they are going to remember, was I a good mom or a good daughter or a good sister. So I think how you treat people is probably my biggest lesson, and that I have to remember that, what the words you say sometimes are, they can really have an impact on somebody positively or negatively. So.
All right. So be nice.
Be nice. That's right.
Be
Perfect.
nice.
Just be kind.
All right. And along on your journey, like what tools you had that pull you through, or books you had that help you along the way?
So I'm not like a self-help person, book person, although I bought a bunch over the years. But I would say, for me, it's always been, um, I mean, it's going to sound crazy, but it's more like poetry for me. I don't know if you've ever heard of it's a poem. It was like written in the 20s. It's called Desiderata. Um, and so for me, that's like where I want my life to be. That's amid the noise and the chaos, like take peace in silence and strive to be happy. And there's another one that it's about being good, and people are gonna give you a hard time, and they're gonna say that you're trying to be good for a reason, but you should just go ahead and be good anyway, and be kind anyway, and because at the end of the day, it's between you and God, and that's the way it should be. So that's a one from Mother Teresa rewrote that one. But so for me, it's always been about poetry and finding a place in this world. It's not always easy. There's so much chaos around us at times, and just understanding that that I belong in the world, and that I have something to offer.
Okay. And Marie, and who been the most like influential to you, or what, or
I know it's cliche, but it would have to be my mother. She's 91 now. She retired when she retired from Mack Truck at 81 years old. So my
nice?
work
Whoa.
ethic I get from her. Yeah. So she worked really long time, and she only retired at 81 because they moved world headquarters out of Allentown. So I would say she's the most influential, and what she's always said is, work hard, be honest, um, and be nice to people.
Yes, be nice. So your mom, she retired at 81.
Right.
Well, that's some energy there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of motivation for you there.
Yes.
What? So what are you curious about right now? Like after all these
So
experiences, the 10 years here, there, mom inspiring you. What are you curious about right now?
I'm still curious about people. I just did a webinar yesterday about about it was being an ally to the LGBTQT community, and I just found it so interesting and learned things that I didn't know. Trying to be accepting of things you don't understand isn't easy, but I think that it's like what you need to strive to do. I don't understand weird. I say weird, so I guess there is still some prejudice there, but weird gender identities and things like that. So, like trying to understand the world is changing. So at some point, I have to keep up so that I understand, young people that I'm dealing with, and what their challenges are. So for me, I'm still curious about, like, why is the world changing the way it is, and how do you accept the changes.
Oh, just be nice, okay? Be nice.
Yeah, that's the theme. That's my theme.
Yeah, be nice, be nice. Everybody is how they is. Let's keep going. Um, so is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want me to ask?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I mean, I guess it's the fun. The funny thing is that I, being a woman in a transportation industry, it's definitely a male-based, but that is changing. So I think that the only thing I would say is that no matter what you think of. What are male roles in transportation or female roles, there's like room for everybody. There's right now, I think maybe there's 80 or 90 managers in transportation. And I think there's only maybe 6 or 8 women. But that's changing. When I first became a manager about 8 years ago, there was only 3. And now we have like 8. So I would say that if you're looking to do something where you think, oh, it's male dominated, and there's been so many men that has helped me, answered my questions, helped me understand things. So I think that there's room for everybody, and there's just so much opportunity out there.
A lot of opportunities, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody they're trying to get onto you, how we could tell the audience how they could find you, how could we get onto you? What would you do? You could offer them jobs, or how could they find you?
So my suggestion is, because we are throughout the country, the company is throughout the country. If you go to nficareers.com, you will find so many jobs out there of anything you could possibly think of, even if you have no experience, even if you're just starting out. If you go to nficareers.com, there you could find something that would fit, and don't be afraid if you don't have experience. Transportation is, especially transportation, is it's a growing thing. Everything we have today is delivered by a truck. Every single thing has to get somewhere using a truck. So it's not something that's going to go away. And there's just a ton of opportunity out there.
Okay. All right, Marie, this was very nice. The information on your experience. And like one more thing again, because I did ask you this again. For the younger people who want to get into the transportation in any field that you have experience in, what's the best way you think they could go about it?
What do you think?
What's the best way, like a younger person want to follow your path?
What should they do? I would say, apply for jobs. There's always going to be somebody out there willing to give you an opportunity. And I'll tell you this right now. I mean, for somebody like me, I would much rather give somebody with no experience an opportunity if I knew they cared, they were going to be reliable, that they wanted to learn, than somebody who already has the experience but might be a little, but doesn't care at all. So I would say, just apply for the jobs, go for the interviews, and express your interest and your desire to learn, and learn things like Word and Excel spreadsheets and that kind of thing. But you can be self-taught. So if you I would say that's the biggest thing, is just go out there and keep trying, keep interviewing, keep looking for where your niche is going to be. I think for young people, I've daughters in their early 20s, and they don't they don't always know what they want to do with their life. And I don't think you should have to expect to know what you want to do at 21. So try a bunch of different things until you find your niche.
Yes, because you could just keep going and you find something you like and you're interested in, then you keep moving on that.
That's right. And be reliable. That's huge.
Be reliable. And be nice.
Always.
Yes. So, Murray, I would like to have you on again. It was nice to having you. Thanks for your time very much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Yes, Marianne, we will be talking soon again. So enjoy and talk to you soon.